the 20th of August. In the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You will be required to vacate the building by the side entrance and gather at the designated emergency muster point. In no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given and the area deemed safe by the authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any member of the public with a disability to vacate the building. All councillors and staff required to speak into the microphone. You may need to move your microphone closer to you, ensure that you are heard and record on the live streaming. Your microphone will glow red when it is picking you up. Are there any apologies?
We have Romano. We believe, I'm just confirming that.
So someone move those?
I'll move that then.
Move Councillor Munro.
Councillors.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Privatera. This council meeting has been live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting that you ensure you're respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording will be made for administrative purposes. I'd like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders both past and present of the Wiradjuri Nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who may be present. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest in any matter for consideration at the council meeting? Councillor Hamley's here.
Don't be sorry. You're right.
There are no mayoral minutes. Now I'll just go to the news folder and I'll ask the Acting General Manager to read those out.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good news. We have a letter from Lifeline Central West thanking Council for a donation of $2,000. It will enable Lifeline to continue to provide the community with services and support programs. We congratulate Andrew Cole, one of our staff members, who was awarded the Tom Knowles Award today at a Macquarie Valley Weeds Committee regional meeting for his contribution to weed management in the Macquarie Valley region over the past 12 months. Tom Knowles was a former chairman of the Macquarie Valley Weeds Committee and passed away in 2011. It's a very prestigious award and we all congratulate Andrew. Young Alex Thomas, one of our carpentry apprentices, narrowly missed out on the Skill Set Apprentice of the Year award in Bathurst last week. So congratulations to Alex for that, and it's a great effort just to be nominated.
Well done. And the Tom Knowles award, that's Kath Knowles' dad. And a lot of people here would know Kath Knowles, yeah. Yeah. We now, look, there are some replacement pages there. It's 2.7 development application DA304. It's a replacement page because there was a... I'd also like to mention that Margaret Love passed away just recently. Margaret Love was Margaret Farrell, and she was a lady very, very much responsible for all the research work that was done on the Emmaville Cottage. People would remember when they restored the Emmaville Cottage. It was through the Farrell family and her married name Margaret Love, and she put a lot of time and effort into that times, and a little bit ill at the time when the cottage was restored, so I only came up to Orange once, but always kept in contact by phone, and she was interviewed several times by the ABC, and just before Christmas actually appeared on the ABC again on a program just talking about her research skills. So look, with your permission, I'll get a letter sent off to the Farrell family. You move that way, Glenn? Second, Councillor Munro, yeah, we'll send off a letter of condolences and thank you to the family. Thank you. Now, the council meeting adjourns for the conduct of the open forum, and our speaker is John Mills of 6 Holman Way, representing the Rotary Club of Orange, and the topic for discussion is the Sustainable Living Expo. Thank you, John. Yep.
This on? Yes.
Yep.
Mayor Reg, councillors and council staff, thank you for the opportunity to address council on item 5.11 Orange Sustainable Living Expo 2019. Orange Sustainable Living Week has been organised by the Rotary Club of Orange and community organisations with the support of council for the last 10 years. Over that time, many residents of Orange and District have participated in activities and workshops designed to provide practical solutions to sustainability issues, including recycling and waste reduction, energy and water efficiency, and environmental sustainability. In addition to adult residents, over 7,000 students from Orange and District schools have participated in activities associated with sustainable living. Although we've run a successful program over those 10 years and it has adapted and moved, the Sustainable Living Week Committee sees there's a need to lift the profile of Sustainable Living Week to engage more residents in pursuing more sustainable lifestyles across the areas of waste and recycling, water, energy and environment. The committee seeks a commitment from Orange City Council to partner with the Orange Rotary to run a Sustainable Living Expo event for Orange in conjunction with our Sustainable Living Week activities late in October 2019. The proposal is based on a successful Sustainable Living Expo run in March this year by the Bathurst Regional Council. To give the event a high profile, we have secured the services of Craig Rucastle, the high-profile presenter of the ABC's program of War on Waste, and that's been run nationally for a couple of years, to participate in our expo. It will be supported by the performance group Radical Recyclers, along with local presenters from Orange City Council, Central West Landcare, Futuring Orange, and other local and national businesses. Presentations will be supported by a number of trade stands from local and national businesses who work in the sustainability sector. The Expo will provide an opportunity for Council to promote its sustainability credentials in the areas of recycling, energy and water efficiency and environmental conservation. It is anticipated there will be strong interest from representatives of the renewable energy, construction, recycling and water industries who have trade stalls at the Expo. There will also be the opportunity to promote Orange as an electric car friendly destination. It is proposed to run the Expo event at the Orange Northcote with a wet weather option of the Naylor Pavilion at the Orange Showground. The Expo will be run in conjunction with the Rotary Club of Orange Community Market. By co-locating the market and the Expo, we will have access to the 1,500 to 2,000 people who regularly attend our quarterly markets. This, combined with the engagement of Craig Rucastle, who has a national sustainability profile through the War on Waste series, provides a unique opportunity for Orange City Council to promote its sustainability credentials both to the local community and to the wider regional community. The Rotary Club of Orange has committed $6,000 in cash along with over $4,000 in kind contributions to the planning, event management and delivery of the Sustainable Living Expo event and has secured a $1,000 grant from Charles Sturt University. We are continuing to look to other potential sponsors in the local area. An investment by Orange City Council in the Expo of $6,000 has the potential to improve water use efficiency, particularly in a potentially critical time of the year, entering summer with low levels in the city's water storages. And even if we do get rain, which I certainly hope we do, we'll be entering that period of the year when we need to ensure that people use water efficiently during the high demand periods of the summer. It also has the impact, or should have the impact, of reducing the amount of plastic used in the community, improving the uptake of recycling, an increase in the range of and quality of recycling materials. One of the areas where we want to focus on is the recycling of soft plastics, which are a major problem in terms of contamination.
John, I'll just have to get an extension of time. Councillor Nugent, second Councillor Munro. All in favour?
Thank you. I've only got a short way to go. In terms of soft plastic, that's an area that it appears, certainly from my working around, that people don't realise the significance of soft plastic. We do have 3 depots from RedCycle that do accept soft plastics. That's an area that I think needs promoting in terms of a source of pulling waste out of landfill, but also it's a good news story because it's a circular economy. The soft plastics get processed by a company called Replas, who we hope to have as an exhibitor at the show. And I know council has used Replas products out at Lake Canobolas with their park furniture. So it's a good news story that people don't know much about in town, except maybe the councillors. I think that sort of increase in the recycling uptake, and in terms of economics, we hope that this will lead to a reduction of the amount of waste going to landfill, because waste going to landfill is a cost to the council, it's a cost to the community. Along with these economic benefits are the associated social benefits of the council demonstrating leadership in progressing the Orange community to a more sustainable future. And I've noted that this project aligns with Orange City Council's Community Strategic Plan 2018 to 2028, particularly in the areas or the strategies of attracting a variety of events and festivals and activities for local and visitors. Under the
John, I'm going to have to pull you up here shortly. You've had a fair run here.
Sorry. Critically, in the area of Objective 7 of the plan, sustainable growth and respectful planning, the areas talks about renewable energy and options for the community, and Objective 8, managing resources. We look forward to partnering with the council and making Orange Sustainable Living Expo a success. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to address council.
Thanks, John. I will just make a comment because you mentioned Bathurst Council in there. Orange City Council commenced this Sustainable Living Expo 10 years ago. I moved the resolution in this council with a council that's no longer here with us. And the Rotary Club approached us wanting to run the expo, which we agreed to. I think we just make that quite clear that it was an initiative of this council originally. Bathurst are doing it the last couple of years, but we've been doing it for 10 years. And obviously in the recycling areas, and if you talk about sustainable water use and a number of other areas, that reflects in what the city does. So, yeah, thank you. We have confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Orange City Council held on the 6th of August.
Move them with those adjustments. Second.
Moved Councillor Dovey, second Councillor Nugent. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. There are no notices of motion and no notices of rescission. We'll move into 5 general reports. First of all, 5.1, which is recommendation and resolution from the policy committees.
Move the recommendation.
Move Councillor Whitten, second Councillor Nugent. All in favour? Sorry.
Just a slight correction, Mr Mayor, in the Employment Economic Development on page 22. I'm listed as an apology, but I actually moved the apologies. I think it should have been Councillor Taylor who was the apology.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Turner. Okay, all in favour? Need a show of hands here, thanks. Against? Thank you. 5.2 is an update on outstanding resolutions of council, including questions taken on notice and notices of motion.
Recommendation.
Move Councillor Nugent, second Councillor Munro. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, thank you. Mayor, I just want to revisit a question that I put forward there, taken on notice, and that is...
what page?
What page are we on? 36. Bottom one. It's Mr. Mayor. Look, this is it's about parking on Nature Street. Highlighted, and it was. And they were blitzed with $500 worth of. They had put gravel down on the Nature Strip over many cars, and they were parked there. Now, I would challenge anyone. I really don't see what those type of blitzes. I know that rules are rules, and we'll all get back to the fact that have to be policed and so. But really, I mean, we need to give people a fair break. I mean, parking on the Nature Strip, I could take any senior staff member or any councillor or yourself, Mr. Mayor, around in a car at any stage and turn up almost any street in Orange and we'll find cars parked on the Nature. The way it is, that's life and that's how it happens. And for us to selectively, at some stage, because someone might have a gripe or whatever, to put someone in and
They're not real selective, Councillor Taylor. They got me 2 weeks ago.
well, I'm not, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a bit over the top. It's my personal view. I'm not saying under probably a state rule or whatever it may be. It doesn't mean I agree with it. And Mr. Mayor, the big problem that we're having here, and the number of people that have approached me in the shopping centres, in the pubs, in walking down the street and whatever, they've read about this and they've all said the same thing. Can't park on our Nature Strip. Well, you know, how about we all stop mowing those Nature Strips and looking after them? Now, no, that's probably not going to happen, but that's a fair analogy. That is a fair comment to make. I think we should just give people a fair go. If the car is parked on the Nature Strip, not impeding anyone, it's not hurting anyone, it's not blocking anyone, it's not causing any problems for access of emergency vehicles or whatever it may be. Now, I understand, and this is not about the parking officers. They all do the best they can and they do a good job generally, and they have a job to ensure that parking moves. I'll raise quickly on parking with this. The marking of particularly disabled signage on the ground. I watched in Anson Street last week a couple of parking officers. I don't know, one of the officers may have been in training, but they walked around a car and they had quite a detailed discussion, and I think they were discussing whether to book that car. The lady returned to the car and I walked across. I said, "Were you booked?" And she said, "No." And the officers had shown discretion, and thankfully they had. Now, you could hardly see the markings on the road. Now, they would have got over, and parking officers, I had a good chat to them and a polite chat, and they were polite and they were lovely people and doing their job, and I congratulate them for that. But the fact of the matter is, they have a job to do, but it's not only just with the disabled spots, it's with anywhere where there's line markings in the shopping centres, in the streets, wherever it is. If we're going to fine people for being on lines, if we're going to fine people for being encroaching into a disabled spot, which is $600 odd. I was chairman of the Access Committee for zero tolerance for people parking in. I always will. But the fact of the matter, if people have just encroached on that a little bit because the line marking is very, very faint and you can't see them. What I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, I'll wrap up very quickly, is please, can we go a little easier on people parking on? Secondly, can we? It may cost us a little, but we've seen the article about the increase since we've introduced the mobile unit and so forth, of the increase in revenue as far as parking's concerned. Can we spend a little bit of that extra revenue that we're taking from those parking fines to ensure that the parking spaces are clearly marked? I have no argument if someone is doing the wrong thing. someone has overstayed or someone, but please, if it's so ambiguous that they have to really stop, have a close look to see, they don't deserve a $500-600 fine. And there are a lot of people out there doing it tough at the moment. Those people do deserve a fair go. And a $500-600 fine, struggling family or struggling individuals, can be a game breaker. Please listen to
Thanks, Councillor. I might just get Mr. Johnson to respond to that. When he's here.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Last time that Councillor Taylor brought this particular issue up of parking across, I guess, verges and there was, I guess, about targeted areas outside the CBD and the like. I introduced a system whereby I guess we provide a warning system whereby those people that have observed have either have a safety issue, whether it's near a school, whether it's near perhaps some of these are parked across pedestrian, across pathways and the like, they're issued a warning, and then they're not looked at again until such time that I guess a week or 10 days goes by, and if the practice continues, we have issued a few penalty infringement notices under those circumstances. I asked my guys to have a very sort of pragmatic approach to this, and so far as that, yeah, sure, issue warnings in the first instance, and that's the system that we have introduced since that time. Disabled parking spaces, we've had an independent review of all of our parking spaces within the CBD. Yes, there's a number of spaces that need to be upgraded over time. That's been brought into our I guess identification of which ones we can do now, which ones we need to do in future. And I'll be taking that up through, I guess I can let you know where that's up to in terms of how far we've got with that. But I don't know what else I can probably say or respond to that particular issue at the moment. But we've had that's the approach that we have taken.
Councillor Taylor, if I may, I just asked, I just asked Acting General Manager to take on board, particularly the point you said about faded lines and get them to do an audit of the line marking that around, because
there are a number of disabled spots in the Woolworths car park that are really.
So I can ask any councillors if they know of any areas where they're very faded, or if you can just let the staff actually know, and we'll do an audit of those areas. Good point.
Just Paul, you might make a comment. Just along with Councillor Taylor's lines, Live Better are an organisation that delivers elderly people with impairment and all these type of things that are around, and they're being warned about being parking and letting people off. And a lot of these people are well over their 80s that they let off, and there's nowhere for them to let them off. They have to. You look at they're going to bus stops, they're in trouble, because that's where there's some places there is a good leverage to step out of a car and it's uneven. So I just wonder if we can be a bit more proactive with that and have discussions with Live Better, and when we have this report come to us, there'll be other organisations as well. So we can accommodate that.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the same issue, I've been approached by a number of delivery vehicles in Summer Street. They're having problems at the moment because people are parking in the loading zone. The actual delivery vans are getting booked for double parking because they can't park in the...
That's a catch-22. The people who are in there get booked and complain to us about parking in the wrong spot. And the other person that it's made for, say,
he's getting booked as well, or she's...
We're the ones in trouble all the time. I think the other one I thought during the week was a classic, that the person that complained about they were only in no standing sign for 2 seconds picking a child up. They must have a quick child that can get into a car in 2 seconds.
On what Councillor Whitten mentioned there, and it may be where legislation or the laws, Mr. Johnson may be able to explain, where they do err, and that is it right that if you have a ute, you can actually park in a loading zone? You don't actually have to demonstrate that you are unloading something for a nearby business or whatever, because that's something that needs to be brought up if it's a state level legislative thing, because there's a hell of a lot of utes around town that are private.
I'll get Mr. Johnson to look at that and come back to us. Thanks. All right. Will someone... we had a mover.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just want to talk about the roads and footpaths forum we had last week. Last Tuesday we had about 10 And I think the Mayor made the best comment at the start, saying we thought we'd be 20,000 people there, the amount of people that want to comment on roads and footpaths. For the people who did turn up, it was fantastic to see what we've done, what we're doing and what we've got planned for the future. And I'm sure they went away with a better knowledge on how to build, how we're building and some of the problems that we do have. But I'd just like to thank staff for putting that on. It was a real eye-opener.
Thanks, Councillor Hamling. Do we have a mover for 5.2, please? Councillor Whitten, seconder. Senator Councillor, I think we did. Okay, all in favour? Put me out once. Get me 3, you can kick me out. 5.3, statement of investments.
Move the recommendation.
Second it.
All in favour? Hands up, please. Against? Thank you. 5.4 is Code of Conduct reporting.
Chairman, I've got a number of questions first.
I need a mover and a seconder first.
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Move Councillor Hamling. Seconded to Councillor Pravatera.
My questions are, number one, have all the proponents or the people who lodged the complaints, are they advised of what the results are?
Yes.
They are advised. Yeah. The reason why I ask that, because I don't know. I know Councillor Miletto's political party that helped him out as regards to the election was as regards it was in the open, in the media, letters that they put out there. So I just wonder whether they were advised of not what the case was.
I think that's completely irrelevant to bring up something from. Well, no, it is. That's completely irrelevant, and it's got nothing to do with Councillor Miletto.
My other question is, by moving this resolution, are we acknowledging what the reports of the expected of the councillors to
You from the councillor.
Seeking an apology.
Sorry?
Councillor Miletto seeking an apology.
Apology what for?
They've raised an issue which is not relevant to what you're talking about.
So sorry.
Thank you.
So sorry. I think it is relevant. That's the Mayor's point of view. Mr. Mayor, is by acknowledging this report, does that say that what the recommendations of the reviewers, councillors have to do or whoever has to do?
This report is statistical reporting of the number of code of conduct complaints that have been made during a period, the number that have been investigated and the amount of money that has been spent on it. It provides no detail as to the subject matter of any of those complaints, which of course are confidential, none of the outcomes in relation to those complaints, which again are confidential.
What I find quite interesting, Mr. Chairman, is the actual figures of the dollars that are paid there, around about $10,000. And it doesn't include staff costs, so you nearly double that. And that's nearly well over 100 metres of footpaths. So just something to look at.
Councillor.
That's probably more relevant than the other one.
Mayor, over the years, you've had plenty to say about the process. I've had plenty to say about the process. Councillor Duffy, Councillor Whitten, a lot of us in here have had a lot to say about how the process is not perfect. But I've said it here before, and I'm not saying anything new that I haven't said probably 10 years ago, 15. Pub test should be, and we see the amount there. Councillor Duffy's just put out 100 metres worth of concrete or footpath that could be replaced for the cost of what I believe are issues that the majority of people probably don't care too much about, but that's a general statement. The fact of the matter is the pub test should always be, if you're going to pursue, and this comes from someone who's been here 25 years, never issued a code of conduct complaint against anyone, staff or councillor, that if you are going to pursue a code of conduct complaint, serious one by all means, that's what it's there for. If it involves corruption, if it involves defamation, involves definite wrongdoing, by all means, follow the process. But the pub test should be that if you are not prepared to put your hand in your pocket, pay out for a solicitor to prosecute that case, don't use public money to do it. There's a demonstration, $9,000. But I will say this, We have seen a lot larger amounts in this chamber over the years, so I congratulate Ms Freeman, who's taken over this process. She certainly trimmed it up and she certainly tightened up the process. And I've said it all along, and I know that you and a lot of other councillors agree. When there are things said in this chamber, and things are from time to time said in this chamber, the first course of action should always be that that councillor is given an opportunity to withdraw and apologise and save this ridiculous waste of ratepayers' funds. We all know these code of conduct systems are not perfect, far from it, and they're written by bureaucrats, most of them. They are written at state government level. They don't put the same standards on themselves that they put on us at local government level. We all don't tend to agree with them. But it's one thing out of this report is it's pleasing. The amount has dropped. I know there's probably a lot of councils around the state that would be envious of us that amount. But please, before anyone forward with code of conduct, that pub test, pocket and pay out a solicitor out of your own pocket, prosecute that case. If the answer is no, don't use public and ratepayers' funds, because like Councillor Duffy has pointed out, we can use it in better other ways. Repairing potholes, footpaths, a myriad of issues. We could give it to charities around.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Wynne.
Just an interesting outlook on this, Mr Mayor, and I agree with speakers. And it's a great report from we can't get recognised for constitutional recognition, but we're subject to the same code of conduct laws as the politicians. So.
Yeah. All right, I'll put that. All in favour? You've got to have your hands up, please. Against? Thank you.
Matter arising, Mr Chairman. Matter arising is that I think I've always said in this chamber, it's the dopiest legislation in Australia, and I think the matter which we should be taking to the New South Wales Conference is the matter what Councillor Whitten said, hurry up and get recognition in the Constitution and a complete and proper review of what we've got here in front of us, because people can just come and take that, and I'm pretty sure you've got some legislation which you've taken before, so I think we can move that way.
If you want to move that way, I'll second it. Look, I've got a council resolution of June 2017 about the code of conduct provisions and so forth, and that went to local government that year. We'll take it down again, or we'll get it put in because we've got the other ones there. And that in that year, we also wrote to the Office of Local Government and the Minister expressing concerns, so they can go again. Okay. All right.
Mayor, can I? Sorry, you've already put it, but I didn't know what to say or whether to say anything. But I suppose it all. Can I keep talking about it, even though we've put it?
Matter arising.
I was just going to say, it's all about having ticker. It's all about, if you've got something against a councillor, it stays, no one knows. And that's the bit I have a problem with, not having
Legislation in Australia.
not having the gall to actually put your name behind it, because you can put stuff in willy-nilly without a name on it, like that, yeah. It's a bit I find a bit funny.
Don't get me bird up on this. I think you've
a
had to go.
resolution to go take that down this time.
Yeah. Go move it. Yeah. They've got the other ones there. We'll get that in tomorrow, okay? 5.5 is the Sister Cities Community Committee.
Move the recommendation. Second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? Councillor New?
Well, I suppose just a question then. The recommendation is that council resolves a member to be supported to attend. So do we need to make that decision tonight as to which member of the committee?
Can I just say, I did have a discussion today. I just looked at that forum and had a look at the cost of it. And when I sat down and worked out the cost of sending staff and members of the committee, and I've never seen a report come back from one of these forums, ever.
I've never seen anyone go.
Oh, no, we've had people actually go, but I've never seen a report come back, and I just wonder whether it's a good investment or not, to be quite frank. And I did mention with the Acting General Manager today, I'd like to come back later and have a thought about where we sit with, for instance, Orange, California. I've been on this council 29 years now, Councillor Taylor, 25 years. We've never had anyone go there and anyone come back. Councillor Romano went there on holidays and looked in. What we do with Mount Hagen and so forth. But in this case here, the council does want to resolve a member of the Sister Cities Committee to be supported to attend the National Sister Cities Association Forum in Perth. Are you moving that?
Well, I thought we
Moved it, hadn't we? And we've seconded it, yeah.
But my question, matter arising, is what is the process for deciding who will attend?
I just...
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the acting
Mr.
general.
Chair, if you look on page 74, if council, second paragraph, approves the expenditure, which I believe you just did, under the motion, expressions of interest will be sought from members of the committee and discussed with the chair and council reps on the committee. I believe, Ms. Freeman, that the council has resolved to allocate the
Let's
budget.
go back to the committee.
Okay, that's right. Thank you.
Committee will elect someone. 5.6 is the Orange LEP Amendment 17, post-exhibition report.
Seconded.
Move Councillor Taylor. Councillor Whitten. Councillor Milletta.
Couple of questions, please, Mr. Mayor. Okay. I certainly support the recommendation, but just want a couple of things clarified, if that's okay.
Yep.
With regards to Brett fencing referred to as item 3 of the recommendation, could the relevant director, please explain to me what that involves?
Mr. Chair, I can take that.
I can take it if you want.
Can you? Okay, thank you, Mr. Graham.
Certainly, the question for Mr. Hodges' benefit was the question in regard to point 3 of the recommendation in regard to the LEP Amendment 17, which is where Council resolves to prepare an amendment to the Development Contribution Plan so as to ensure that the financial costs associated with Horse and Rider Underpass and associated separation fencing at full cost of developers within the proposed equine precinct area. So the proposed equine precinct area adjoins the nominated route for the Southern Feeder Road at present. The initial master planning for that development showed a number of horse trails that were almost like joint use or community land available for the movement of horses between the properties and Towak Park precinct area. And in that case, there was sort of a conflict on those uses between the two. So we had early discussions with the developer in that regard and said that we'd to allow the future construction of the Southern Feeder Road through there, we would need at least a culvert structure and fencing to secure a safe route for those horses and people underneath the road, underneath the future road. And this recommendation allows for that to happen.
My understanding is that there'd be approximately, looking at the plans, probably 20 to 22 blocks. Technically, each block contains a horse, will contain a horse or a pony, which is technically a gated community anyway. So, also believe that the underpass idea, has some merit. My concerns are that young persons would then be required to walk or ride the horses or ponies along the side of the road to get to the underpass. Well, whilst the process of riding those horses along the road, you run the risk of those horses being spooked by cars or trucks in the process. And what we would expect with development taking place out there is that there'd be an increase in traffic. Anybody who's had anything to do with horses in the past would be aware that the animals themselves can be unpredictable. So my concern is that by having the underpass going underneath the road, whether that is overkill, because landowners who are currently located on the southern end of Towak Park would be expected to create a bridle path for their own ponies, and the walk or the travel would be a considerable distance to reach the underpass to gain access to Towak Park in any event. So I question whether the underpass would be deemed to be an overkill in these circumstances. perhaps consideration should be given to placing a covenant on those new blocks of land indicating that horses and ponies can only be transported to Towak Park by the use of a horse float and can't be walked along that section of roadway. Is that possible?
That's possible. It wasn't the developer's position when we were discussing their
I
development.
totally understand that, but my concern is that when we look at what we're trying to do in that area, and there's going to be an increase in traffic, and we have an area where horses are expected to walk along the road, we've got young people who be either riding or walking those horses. If those horses get spooked going along that road and some of them are a considerable distance, whether that's going to create perhaps a fatality in the circumstances, whether there is an opportunity to meet with the developer and see whether there is another option available to put a covenant on those blocks where the only way that those horses can be moved around that area is by horse float.
They have the option of trailering the horses anyway.
They do as well.
The option's there. If they want to trailer the horse, they can trailer the horse or they can use the underpass. It's up to them.
Yeah, but my concern is
putting
allowing
a covenant on it is almost making it compulsory. I would.
The master planning at the moment shows trails leading to that point in the road. So that's the point where they would be naturally crossing or wanting to cross. It supported the master plan and the master plan's use. There's been other built-up areas where similar situations have been, or similar developments where that actually takes place. And also being mindful that horses are easily spooked.
And I appreciate the councillor's point of view that the horses can be carried by float, etc. And I totally agree with that. That's an option. My concern is that they're allowed to walk along the side of the road to get to the pass. That was all.
Can I just ask a question there of whoever? There's no law against walking your horse along the side of the road.
Correct.
Mr. Chair.
Correct? Can't stop them.
I'd like councillors to listen to, I suppose, my opinion, because I've had horses since I was 4 and raced horses, track work jockey at one stage of my life. I'm a farrier. I know park. So I'm a horseman. I can tell you about horses. I do agree in principle a bit here with today, but look, we really, one question I suppose I'd like to ask, that part of that road be built up as the construction in the of that road, will it be a high road or could it be a low road? Does it need to be built up at that section of the road? Low area where it would also act as a water irrigation from the other side of the road.
It's
question.
Certainly. We did discuss this. It's not necessarily meant to be as a secondary use, could be for water transfer and what have you. Its primary use would be an on-grade crossing so that it wasn't actually dipped down and holding water at any point in time. And so the road would actually be built up over the top of it as part of the works.
The question, I suppose, would be, naturally, would that road need to be engineered higher through that low section, up and down if that pass through it?
The underpass wasn't there, the road would be lower. Yeah.
Look, it would be my wish as a horse person and somebody that knows kids and horses and the rest of it, that I think we should have the underpass. I think it would be a great add-on. We want to make a equine area there. We want to have safety. Got race horses, could be worth 100,000, could be winks going under that road. You need safe transfer from the racetrack to go back to the home stabling. Really want to make it that. Look at Scone and all the problems they have at the moment with the racing industry up there, Orange could be a very big breeding area, training area in the future, with coal up there and all the problems they're having. I just think if you build it, they will come. That problem that Councillor Miletto had could be easily fixed with a fence, with long.
Out of the works.
Horses can't naturally run up onto the road. I think it's a wonderful concept, and I'll be going for the underpass. Also, like to just say, in the economics of building that road, we'll be going for state and federal funding, and work very hard on doing all that. And we have this precinct idea. I think that could be part of that.
Councillor Munro, can you just...
conclude.
It's got to be to the recommendations here. Speaking to the recommendations or against them, I don't think we can...
I'd like to see the underpass.
Enforcement in the room.
Yeah, I'd like to see the underpass go forward for good reason. I think it's safety, it's practical. I think we can't really go another way, and to float a racehorse across the road to track work, a little bit silly when you've spent a couple of $1 million on a facility to be able to transfer back and forth.
Thank you. Councillor Nugent.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Just to follow up on some of those issues that have been discussed. Look, I understood that the underpass was an integral part of this development and the desire of the proponent. On page 84, it shows approximate length of separation fencing to sort of address some of those concerns that Councillor Miletto was identifying. And there's two sort of sections there. There's the red sections, which... And there's the orange sections, which are potential fence extensions. So, is that the intention? And I know that this is what we're doing tonight is giving in principle support for a rezoning, and obviously there'd be development applications would go into a lot more detail in terms of some of this stuff. But is the intention that the fencing would go as far as indicated with the orange extension, and will that be included as part of the development contribution plan, like the underpass is? I understand. I think the fencing in.
Yes, it is. It is up to that detailed design. Without seeing the proposed trail routes like in their full design stage, we can't really comment on the full extension of the fencing, but ideally it is separated from the road.
Yeah, so I think that's the intention, is that there will be fencing there to sort of keep that separation of horses from the traffic, and to prevent people on horses maybe just taking a shortcut across the Southern Feeder Road because they don't want to go down to the underpass location. There was a couple of other just minor things. The other major thing that I wanted to raise was the future options for the Southern Feeder Road. That there's potentially sort of three different options that we're sort of looking at in that area. One of which would be to go down Ploughman's Lane. Another might be to go out in James Road a little bit further out to
Councillor Nugent, there's completely different matter.
Okay,
what this is about. If you want to ask that question, I suggest you give the director a ring tomorrow, or come in and talk to him about the Southern Distributor. This is not about the Southern Distributor Road.
Well, my support is contingent on knowing that what is being proposed here doesn't limit any option for the Southern. So my question is, does what's being proposed limit any of the options for the Southern Feeder Road?
An excellent question, Councillor Nugent. In that regard, the position has been chosen so that it does not limit any potential.
Well, that was my reading. Thank you, Mr. Director.
Yeah, I've just got one question for the director. First of all, with this rezoning going to the department and coming back, modified at a later date to address issues that we still have concerns with as regards to overpass and the
Mr. Chair, I'll take that, Mr. Chair. So if we go back to page 78, let's just work through this process. So tonight, if you go with the recommendation, you will be noting this report and you will be advising the proponents that they've got in principle support. Then we are going to work through a development contributions plan and a DCP, and we're going to make sure that we deal with issues such as Councillor Miller has raised. Detailed design has to be in the contributions plan, because in order to set the amount of contributions, we need the detailed costing to be able to do that. So we're going to do all that. Once we've nutted that out with the developer, we're going to bring it all back to you. You will give your full support, and we will send that to the department, or if should you wish, you give your full support. Then we go to the department and we say, please make that.
I'm quite happy to support it as it is, because it's a no-brainer. You've got the racetrack out there, you've got the trotting track out there, you've got the pony club out there. In a sense, we've seen that at Ballarat when we went to Ballarat as well, and other places, areas. But I do have concerns about the horses when you're talking about the pony club. There's a fence on there where there's no gated fence. Horses aren't going to get away, and it's on the road. I do have a concern about that, and that's why I was asking the question about, can we modify that later in the process of going through about the contribution plans, because I think it needs to be addressed, because you're only going to get one horse to go away. I've heard of horses getting away from Gay Waterhouse, Gay Smith in Sydney. So we don't want the same thing happening here. I know a number of policemen, like Michael Smith at Boranok, cleaned up a few horses on the road. We don't want that situation to happen here, but I'm happy to support it as it is. Go there. Worried about my deals with horses. Listen, I've ridden with Clancy. My granddaughter's name's Clancy.
Mr. Chair, my daughter's on her third horse, soon to be fourth. Rest assured that your safety concerns will be taken on board by staff as we go through this detailed design process.
Councillor McRae.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I speak in support of the recommendation. I particularly note the exclusion of those landowners who did have concerns regarding the proposal. I think that's an excellent solution, and I support that moving forwards. I guess in terms of item 3, and particularly noting that it is at full cost to the developers for the underpass and the separation fencing, my question is there the opportunity that we might see any innovative and creative options like valet floating or valet horse movement that might actually result in a reduced contribution being made by developers, if they were to come up with some such plan in the future? Is that within the scope of what might be put forward?
Mr. Chair, you can rest assured that staff will be applying best practice as we develop the next stage of this project.
Can we have that addressed in the report, valet floating?
Matter for detail, Councillor.
A, B and C.
Okay, I think we've had all in favour? Against? Thank you. I think we'll get the Council Pony Club team and all go out there and ride, because soon we're all good horsemen. 5.7 is development application DA 99/2019 in brackets 1, lot 5, Carlton Road.
Happy to move the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Miletto. Seconded, Councillor Munro. All in favour? Hands, please. Against? Thank you. 5.8 is development application DA 174/2019 in brackets 1, 500 Cecil Road. Move, Councillor Whitten. Seconded, Councillor Taylor. All in favour? Show of hands, please.
Just
Question?
as a matter of rising, Mr. Chairman, look, that bridge across that on the way to that's obviously going to make the school. So that bridge is only a one-lane bridge. Is there where are we at with that to make that wider? Have we got anything in the pipeline for that? If not, it should be one of our community contributions or things like that. As should be the toilet at the new.
Yeah, excellent question again, but it isn't Council's bridge. It's actually owned by the Rail Authority, and I do have it on reasonable authority that John Holland have it in their forward plans for reconstruction.
Any idea when?
No, that contract is up for renegotiation at the moment for the operation of the rail track.
There was a pretty good meeting with people that are working on behalf of the government with that contract for John Holland Rail, and director brought that forward. And they certainly knew about it. It was quite interesting. They knew about it here last week, so it's high up in the priorities. Yeah. Move that. Second. Request for financial assistance, Q1 of 2019 and 20.
Move the
event
recommendation.
Sponsorship. Move Councillor Whitten, second Councillor Munro. Withdrawn, yeah. All in favour? Thank you. 510 is an event sponsorship program.
Recommendation?
Second.
Councillor McRae. Who was the second to that?
Me.
Councillor Nugent. All in favour, show of hands, please. 511 is the Orange Sustainable Living Expo 2019. Move the recommendation, Councillor Nugent. Second to Councillor Turner. Show of hands, thanks. All in favour? Against? Thank you.
Vinces, John.
You've got to put your hand up.
Four.
Doesn't make any difference if it's passed. I'll go either way.
The rules are, so you've got to put your hand up.
Or
Unless it's broken, which it could be shortly.
not listening.
Put your hand up. We have to. It's the new rules. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now move into a closed meeting. The Acting General Manager will advise the Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council.
There are none.
I extend an invitation to any member of the public present at the meeting to make a representation to Council as to whether the meeting should be closed for a particular item. .1.
6.1, Mrs. Free.
It's in relation to a commercial contract that Council in consideration of. The provision of services to Council.
So, if I could, this relates to Council's manner in which it conducts commercial operations. The way we give away how we select people.
Thank you. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government Act General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the General Manager, the following business is of a kind as referred to in Section 10A in brackets 2 of the Act. It should be dealt with in a confidential session of Council meeting closed to the press and to the public. As items to be considered closed are 6.1, Investment Policy and Procedure.